Hello and welcome to another episode of the Chronic Nirvana. And we always want to bring topics that'll stay on your mind, something that you can mull over and think about. And today we're going to be touching a topic that's been intriguing me for quite a while, and that revolves a little more around spirituality, a little bit of a belief system and faith, the importance of certain spiritual habits, or like how people find their spiritual paths, all condensed down in a way that people of our generation can understand. And to discuss spirituality and a myriad of other topics, we have with us Sanjana Chimnani. Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Thank you, Nikhil. Thank you, Dakshey, for having me.
So,
Pleasure.
so what actually happened was a month ago, I was just chilling and I found something on Instagram where a friend just put up a little teaser saying, hey, there's some sort of spiritual group. And the first thing that came to mind was cult. And then they put this Instagram story up that said, meditate, do yoga, and eat. And I was like, oh shit, there's food. Like, so then I was like, I got to find out who these guys are. And, next thing, it turns out it was a pretty close friend of mine who's a part of this group. And she just told me that, they're just a fun spiritual group and that they're going on a retreat. And, I was like, tell me more. And my friend Ria connected me to Sanjana. And from there, we just took things forward. I feel like I've attended like 2 or 3 meetings, but I already feel so involved. But to tell you more about this group and this community, I'd like to have Sanjana talk to you guys about it. So why don't you tell them about Bhakti Lounge?
For sure. Firstly, I'd like to thank you guys for having me here in your show. And for me to speak about Bhakti Lounge, I think that is something that's very close to my heart. And it's just something very, very special. So thank you so much. And yes, I am very grateful to meet Nikhil. I haven't met Dakshey in person, but I guess this is a great way to meet as well during the lockdown. Why not? But yeah, Nikhil came to Bhakti Lounge, I think a month ago, like he said. We actually did our first yoga retreat. It started about a year and a half ago, where we just wanted to bring people together, to show them something different, not just the party life, because we all know about that, but also to show something different, something more meaningful. And it was a bit challenging at first to see how can I bring people to such a community, because not many people of our age look into spirituality. They think it's a auntie thing, and I've been tagged as an auntie multiple times by my friends. It's like, you're such an auntie, Sanjana. Why can't you just be who you were, which was a few years ago? And to that, I think I'm still the same person. Nothing's changed about me. It's just I've added something on to my life, something that is really benefiting me. So that's the whole purpose of Bhakti Lounge, is just honestly to bring people together so we can talk about life. Why do certain things happen to us? And I think you only ask these questions when you are in your challenging times, not when you're happy.
Of course.
So when you're happy, you're happy. You're going with life the way it is. Or you only pause and reflect on such things when you're having a tough time in life.
That's awesome.
So to give you the strength when you are in your low times, we must practice certain things on regular basis. So when you are in that tough time, you don't restart and say, oh my God, maybe I should see a therapist. Maybe I should get into spirituality. Should I read a self-help book? What must I do? So we're just trying to build in some I would say good habits, or even having that good association. Where do you find those friends who truly understand you? They want to know what's happening in your life. They want to help you out. So the Bhakti Lounge has actually given me a lot of new friends, and too many others, like for example Nikhil. And I'm sure, Nikhil, you've met a lot of people in Bhakti Lounge. In just a month and a half, everyone loves Nikhil because he shot our Bhakti Lounge yoga retreat video, which was amazing.
Awesome.
We're actually working on another one now together. So yeah, you just get together, you collaborate on things you love, things you're passionate about. You know, he's passionate about making movies, films, documentaries, and he got a chance. Whether he believes in it or not,
No, of
the
course.
spiritual side of it, I think.
I think what was really awesome about it was, you know, I ended up showing. So, like she said, there was this retreat, and I showed up there to shoot a video for them and just give them content. But you know, in my head at first, like I'd never met any of these guys. I just knew a couple of names, right? And the funny thing was, I walk in, like I go to this retreat. I'm like taking my camera, and the first guy I meet is this guy called Shiv. And I mean, I found out his name then, but I was like, dude, we played beer pong a month ago in stables. Like, what the fuck are you doing here?
I didn't even know that.
And then
What?
you know, it's
Cat's
like
out of the bag.
It's like
Wow.
it's like T-2 hours to meditation, and we're just like, yeah, dude, we gotta play beer pong soon. Like, we gotta make it happen.
You're meeting people, the same people. I remember one of my friends told me, dude, how are all these people coming?
Yeah,
to
I think
Bhakti
that
Lounge?
was
These
like-
people
that was-
meet at a bar. Like, what are they
that was
doing?
that
in
was
this
yeah,
sunken
exactly.
place?
Come in
Looking for
there,
repentance.
hungover, like, you know, be on all fours the night before throwing up, be on all fours doing
Yes.
downward dog the next day. Like, you know,
I need
am
God.
redeeming my soul. No, the cool thing is
That's
I
amazing.
found a mixed crowd, right? I found people who had gotten drunk with like a year ago, and I think it was this sense that, you know, at the end of it, I did feel that comfort where I went in there and I was like, you can let your hair down. Being in that setting in itself kind of took a load off. Okay, so that was my first impression of just the vibe and the aura that group gave out. So that was pretty fun for me. So what I wanted to ask you was, you know, how did you, you know, find your path into spirituality? Like how did you just decide to do Bhakti Lounge?
Yeah,
Like-
I was just gonna ask that.
I didn't just wake up one day and say, let's start Bhakti Lounge. I think it took a while to get here. It was always a dream, but I never knew what to do. Where am I supposed to start? So when I was 15, I just happened to read this book called Laws of the Spirit World, which my brother was reading. And I'm not really a bookworm. I don't really enjoy reading. Well, it's kind of changed now, but when I was 15, no way. I would only like to draw. I'm an artist, so I would only draw. And I read that book, and I was a bit intrigued because it spoke about, spirits, and there is life out there, not just on planet Earth, but much beyond.
Watch
so
The Last
I was very
Airbender.
interested.
Same thing. I'm just kidding. Go on. Not The Last Airbender. Go on.
And then anyway, so I started questioning my existence, and I started attending a few classes. I'm from Hyderabad, so I was attending a few workshops in India, in Hyderabad, and I just continued. Not the same philosophy, but I moved quite a bit from one philosophy to another. Things like Reiki or Vipassana, which is that 10-day silent retreat, which I did 2.5 years ago. Many other things that I came across, but nothing stuck to me as much as this did, which is the Hare Krishna movement, which I was actually very against. I don't know if you guys have seen, Nikhil obviously is now, he's a part of Bhakti Lounge, but I don't know about you, Dakshey, if you've seen
Is it
Hare
ISKCON?
Krishna people. Yeah, ISKCON. So,
I used to be a part of it actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like back in the day.
Interesting. Well,
Yeah.
you are gonna be a part of it again soon, I guess. when the lockdown is over, please come and
Yeah, I'll
see what
definitely
we
give it a
do on
shot.
Fridays. Yeah. But
Sorry,
I
you were saying.
thought it was a cult, and I never really gave it a shot to understand what they're preaching. I was just like, oh, they're just a bunch of random people singing Hare Krishna and bunch of white people. I'm like, they don't even know what they're saying, but it was wrong. I was the one who didn't even know what they were, what does Hare Krishna even mean? I had no idea. I never even gave it a shot. And I think I let it be for a while. I came across them many times in New York, in Melbourne when I was living there, and I still ignored. I would only go to the temple for good free food. I think food always attracts people. So I would only go there for the food. And when I moved to Dubai recently, I met my teacher, who I work with for Bhakti Lounge. We're the ones who do it together. And she came home for I don't know, one of the pujas that was happening, you know, the usual Indian pujas. And my mom was like, oh, we're having a puja at home this evening, so you have to come and attend it. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to sit there. I don't know what they're going to say. I'm just going to follow whatever my mom tells me to do. And then my mentor, her name is Shubha, she actually explained why we are doing this arti today. Why are we doing, what is this ritual all about? And she gave a scientific and a practical reason, which I fell in love with. I was like, oh, finally, I know why we're doing this. You know, it's not just something random. It makes sense. And I loved it. And I fell in love with her. And I kept in touch with her ever since then. And on my birthday last year, I just decided that I want to introduce this to my friends as well, because it's really, really helped me in many ways. And you know, it's been a positive change in my life. So I wanted to share it with my friends, and I did have a hippie yoga party, and I invited all my friends home, and when they came, we did a bit of yoga, we did a bit of mantra meditation, and we spoke about what actually gets you high. Is it the alcohol? Is it the drugs? Because how long are you gonna, you know, be high for? It's not going to be for the rest of your life. It's so temporary. And in fact, when you are taking in those intoxicants, you feel worse after. In the moment, sure, you're having a great time, but it doesn't last long, and it just makes you feel like crap the next day. So we spoke about that, which was very interesting. And that's how it kind of started. We got a good response. Everyone who attended that birthday were very happy, and when we saw the response, we're like, okay, maybe we should actually take this out there and introduce it to the young adults in Dubai, mainly people who just love partying. That's the kind of age group or the people we're looking at, just so we all are in the same boat, we understand each other. It's easy to start from there.
100%. That's a really good way of looking at it. Sorry, I just had two questions. First thing, I just wanted to tell the listeners who may not know what a puja is. It's basically an Indian ritual where, you know, people gather around and pray to God. But second thing, what was the reason that she gave you? What was the, the explanation? And what was the puja as well, if you don't mind me asking?
Good question. It was in November. I can't remember, but it was October or November, and it was it's called Damodar Arti, and she explained the pastimes of Lord Krishna and why there was a whole story behind it. So she's sharing the pastimes of Lord Krishna, and it goes into many details, which I think we should talk about another day, because I don't think the audience will understand. But basically, it was something I could relate to. It was very simplified, and she was connecting it to the real life of what we are going through, to his story, to the Lord's story. So it's easy. It's like, oh, okay, he went through that, or he did that, and this is what is happening in my life too, or in everyone's lives. And I understand that, I respect that. I still don't know anything about Lord Krishna, or I never wanted to worship God at that time. I was like, I don't believe in it. I just believe in the universe and energy. So why must I worship God? And from there on, I started my journey, where when I heard that story, I wanted to know more. So I asked her after that, and I went for her classes. I was attending some of her Friday classes to know more about it.
Awesome. Was there any mention about Kali Yuga and the different yugas and all that stuff?
Yes, of course. Kali Yuga for sure. We actually just had a class recently on Kali Yuga. So now that we're in lockdown, we're doing online sessions. We're going live on Instagram, and we had a session recently on the cycle of yugas. So we did speak a bit about Kali Yuga, which is Iron Age. And what they say is, why japa meditation or mantra meditation? Why not just sit in silence? Or there are many types of meditation. I was actually discussing this with Nikhil recently.
Yeah.
I don't know if you started
for anyone who
meditating.
doesn't know what a yuga is, I just want to give you guys a quick thing. So within the whole spiritual
Era.
group, it's an era, it's a time period where there are four, as far as we've known, as long as times existed, at least in Hinduism, I don't know if anyone else has done it, but Hinduism divides it in into four eras called Satyuga, Dwapara Yuga, Treta Yuga, and Kali Yuga. And each yuga has a fourth less time than the others, meaning Satyug was the longest time where, look, I don't know the details. Apparently, people grew 8 foot long and lived for 25,000 years, smoked a shit ton of weed. Like, best part was it was still there at the time, okay?
No,
Like,
but
I don't know. I'm just going with the flow right now, but cannabis has been around longer than alcohol. No, I'm just
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
kidding. Yeah, so 4
Yeah.
yugas, whatnot. So that's a time period. Go on. And how has those yugas impacted your
Yeah,
beliefs?
well, they say that the scriptures say that Kali Yuga is the best way to meditate is to do japa meditation or mantra meditation, because you're using all 5 senses when you're chanting the names of the Lord, because it's very difficult for us to sit in silence, right? Like, can you sit in silence and have no thoughts at all? Probably
No.
not. It's almost
No way.
impossible for us to
Yeah.
get to that point. It's going to take like
Yeah.
many years. We don't even know if we're going to live for that long, So yeah, that's the best way to meditate, is to try japa meditation, because you're using all your senses.
And what are
it's
the-
actually true.
Sorry, yeah, go on.
No, I was saying that I have tried quite a few different types of meditation, so I can now differentiate how it is when I'm doing the silent meditation, for example, compared to my chanting, compared to maybe mandala meditation. I draw mandalas, that's also a form of meditation. So I see the difference, and I do connect more when I'm chanting, because, like they say, you're fully there. Even if your mind wanders, you can bring it back by chanting it out loud, so you're hearing the sacred
And
sounds.
mandalas,
In your
for those of you who don't know, are those really nice hippie tattoos that you guys get without knowing what it is. Those big, the
She's
big
got a
starry ones, and really,
Oh, that's really cool.
yeah, precise shapes. Like, you want to show that to your
That's
camera, Sanj? Like, yeah, those.
The stuff you see when you're in DMT.
Exactly. or when I just smoke one too many. Like either or, like stare into an empty wall and you're like, why are there cones? Why is it yellow? It's but no.
Sorry, I had one question about meditation. So, so one thing, is there any difference between transcendental meditation than the different meditations that you described?
Can you
And the
describe
second
what
thing is-
transcendental is? I actually don't know.
I'm not sure. I've just heard that it's like one of the forms of meditation. People do it in float tanks and all that stuff. A sensory deprivation tank. So it's like basically like the water is the same temperature as your body, so it feels like you're in nothing. I
don't know. There are all these kinds of meditations that have come out, right? All
Sounds
these
like the most
new age-
white form of meditation ever. Like one white dude went like,
Exactly.
I'm a crack moksha in one step, bro. Watch me.
It's Joe Rogan.
There are so many. I think every few months or a few years, I don't know, but you keep hearing about all kinds of different meditations that come out. But I think it's good to try everything, but really see what you connect with. And that's why, I didn't want someone to tell me that, hey, mantra meditation is it, this is it, you got to do this is the only way you're going to understand life or have self-realization. I had to really go out there, experiment by myself and see what was working for me, and it took me a while. It took me many years to actually get to this point, and I don't even know how long I'm going to last here. But one thing I can say is this is probably the longest I have ever committed to something. It's been 2 years now that I am fully in it. I'm fully convinced by the philosophy that I get over here from the Bhagavad Gita as it is, by Srila Prabhupada, and and again, I think it's the simplicity of it. It's about how they explain it to you, and you see young people of our age doing it so beautifully. And I think that's something that is enough for me. I have wandered around way too much, and I just want to settle down and fully understand one philosophy rather than jumping from one to another. So I think it depends what you connect with.
That's really cool.
Giving mantra meditation a chance.
For those who don't know what mantras are, could you like just be a little more?
Just give a
specific.
Well, the mantra that we use to chant this like japa meditation that I'm talking about is just something very simple. It's just 3 words. So it's Hare, Krishna and Rama, and you just chant that as many times as you can. Of course, there is certain, how would you say,
rules, but a flow, like
variations.
No, not variations, but they tell you that if you've seen a bead, like the beads, the rosary, then I think it's 108, right? 108 beads. So you chant 108 times. It's called the Maha Mantra. So you chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, at least 108 times. That's one round. And then they recommend that you must chant it maybe minimum 16 rounds in a day, which takes you maybe around 2 hours or longer. And the best part about this meditation is actually you don't have to sit, back straight, cross legs, etc., whatever they say. You can chant anytime, anywhere. Whether you're sleeping, you're in bed, or you're walking, or you're sitting in silence, or even if you're in a crowded place and you're constantly chanting in your mind. And this is something I actually loved, because for me, before I got introduced to japa meditation, and everyone would say, oh, you have to meditate to have this perfect life, or just to understand yourself, or all of this that they say, the benefits of meditation. So it felt like so much pressure, like, oh, I have to wake up at a certain time, and I have to get in that place, in wherever, in my room, in my living room. I have to sit there for an hour, I have to be in silence, and all these rules which I couldn't keep up with. And I was like, oh my god, if I missed it, I would feel guilty. And I was like, okay, this is not working out. I need to figure out, either I'm fully in it or I'm not in it. And that's just how my personality is. So then when I got to know about mantra meditation, I was like, great, I can walk and chant, I can sleep and chant, I can literally chant anywhere. If I'm with my friends, or if I'm out, and this has happened before, where I'm probably in a meeting, or I'm out and I'm not listening. I'm just looking at you talk. I'm really not listening, because I'm just not interested. I've lost track of what you're saying. But in my head, I
was talking to her for 20 minutes in the retreat, and she was just like, what,
like real life demo.
You never know what's going on in my mind. Like, usually you're thinking of something else.
Yeah, in my head, I was like, oh, Sanjana is so awesome. Look at her listening to me and my problems. And in the meantime, I realized she didn't give a flying fuck. Like, she was just like, nope. Sab gaya.
She's with...
Firstly, I've never done that, Nikhil. I've always listened to you.
Yeah,
I want to get the work done.
I will keep my eye on you
Nikhil,
next time.
Oh my gosh, I remember how much I troubled him during the retreat, because we wanted to get everyone's interviews done. And
but it wasn't trouble though. That's why I was there, like,
We could have taken it.
But
it was so fun.
To bring up one fun point in that retreat, like, there was this. It was a retreat which had like a lot of events spaced out. They had kirtan. They had kirtan is again like musical. There's like musical accompaniments to chanting. So it's the same chanting.
Sankirtan.
But so
we're with people.
Yeah. So you chant, you sing, people dance like it's 1989, and there's Elvis music behind. It's totally chill, and like got some serious jailhouse rock going. But they were doing all that, and then the thing was, I don't know if I was averse, but a little bit about me is just that I haven't been very religiously inclined for the longest time. So I pushed religion away just from where I was seeing a lot of things. It just tended to cause a lot of divide. When I came to that event and these people are doing anything godlike, like when I enter a temple itself, I'm like, I don't know if I belong here. And I went there and they're like, Nikhil, come join Kirtan and sing. And I was like, should I?
I'm just gonna shoot. How about that? Let me just
Yeah,
take
let me
videos.
stay
I
behind
don't
the
wanna
camera.
sing.
And then fast
Yeah.
forward to a meeting almost a week later, and then Nandkumar uncle, one of the other senior persons in
Prabhu.
the group, yeah, and he. He just thrust a mic in me. He's like, "You're singing." I really wanted to just tell him, "Mama ain't raised no bitch, so let's go." Where my Hare Krishna fam
That was
at?
fun. That was fun. I took a video of Nikhil chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, which is a big deal, and I shared it with his friend who introduced Bhakti Lounge to him. Her name is Riya. She's such a sweetheart, and she was so shocked. She's like, "Is that Nikhil? Oh my God, what's happening?" And that's everyone. It's not just Nikhil. It's so many people who come with this belief of like, I don't want to chant that. Or even if they do sit during the kirtan session, they feel so uncomfortable to even say Hare Krishna. They're just like, ugh, they're fumbling and they're like, I don't even think I want to say it.
Yeah,
But eventually you do. I mean, there are benefits of even just hearing it, is what they say. Even if the person's sitting there, or even if you say, Krishna once, it's a lot. We don't realize what it's doing to us, but it's really helping.
For
us.
me, I just had this very, like, when I fit in over there, when I came in, I was just, chanting this is just my mentality, and if you guys want, you can. Like, I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but one thing that I tried doing there was just that, I realized I came to be in a certain vibe with certain people, like, and my mentality going in was I want to try and accept these vibrations and energy around and be a part of it, right? And by rejecting, like, I don't need to, like, I don't consider myself religious, right? I really don't. But that doesn't matter when you're sitting around. Like, you are with a group of people, you're trying to fit in. So just do what they do and do it with good intentions. That's kind of just my philosophy around certain things. So when Nankumar uncle went take the mic, in reality I was like, what, I'm not doing this out of like, because I'm religious. I'm doing this because these people are nice enough to have me. I want to fit in with what they're doing. And like, if chanting these words is a way for me to absorb these vibrations, why not? So, like,
there's a lot of
Absolutely.
science behind that. It's like, when people sing together, it's usually it releases serotonin and melanin and whatnot, like all the
Wait, really?
good shit hormones.
oh wait,
Yeah.
tell me more.
Like, so it's just about singing together, it seems, apparently.
Everyone's happy, they're singing. Some people are
Yeah.
probably crying because they're just crying out of happiness, and
Yeah.
dancing, jumping. It's super energetic, and it's a very powerful experience that I think everyone must experience at least once in their life.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, even when I in fact, just today I was going through my Instagram feed to clear a few things, clean it up, and I came across this video of my second kirtan ever, which was in New York. I just happened to attend this place called the Bhakti Center, which is like Bhakti Lounge, and that's where my inspiration comes from. And over there they had this kirtan. I didn't know what it was at that time. I was just sitting there thinking, I don't know, something good's gonna happen, something positive. And then they all start singing, Hare Krishna. And
Wow.
I sat there for 2 hours straight, just singing with these people. I don't know who these people are, just random people, strangers. And it was such a happy feeling. I actually had that video and I was watching it and I was like, wow, that was in 2014 when I didn't even have anything for it. In fact, I was against it. So
How
what are
old
these
were you
people
back
doing? What
then?
are they singing? What are they chanting?
how old were you when you did
But
this?
here I am now, where I'm telling people.
So pretty much like
21?
my age when
20?
when experiencing this for
2021.
like what, the second time? Damn.
Yeah, pretty much. So, I mean, people get introduced to it at different ages. I don't think age matters. Well, if you get introduced to spirituality in general, whatever it is for you that you connect with at a early age, the better it is, because it helps you in your life. A lot of people, they say, oh, I'm just gonna read these scriptures or get into spirituality when I'm older. But what
Fair.
guarantee do we have that we're even gonna live for that long? How do we
Yeah.
know that we're gonna live for that long?
Fair enough. Fair
and
enough.
why would you push away something that's actually gonna help you in your life? It's not boring. It's actually a lot of fun.
So I just wanted to ask you, like, what are the benefits of meditating? You know, like, so many people do it for like different reasons, obviously. But in your case, what are the things that you've taken apart from, like, you know, the spiritual journey and meditating? What's the benefits?
Well, there are many, but the one I connect to the most is to connect with your inner self, which I think is so important, and not many of us do it. We don't even realize the importance of it, is to really be with yourself, you know, instead of constantly looking for answers externally, actually going
Yeah.
inwards, you know, asking yourself, what do you really want? And I'm still working on this. It's not that it's not like I have
Master, like, read.
mastered it exactly, or I am perfect at it, which a lot of people, like now some of my friends think, oh yeah, like your life is perfect, you know, you're spiritual and you meditate and you do yoga and all of that stuff. And I'm like, no, I'm actually as flawed as you guys are. I haven't really gotten anywhere with it. It's just a start where I have realized at least that yes, I think this is important. So yeah, for me, the most beneficial thing has been to connect with myself and really
Fair.
hear myself, like understand myself. You know, people say, listen to
Yeah.
your gut, listen to your gut. Well, it doesn't come that
Yeah.
easily. It comes with practice to really
Yeah.
listen to yourself. And I think for me, it's meditation that helps me.
So would you say it's like
do
honing
that.
in your intuition? Like, so, like Buddha,
Absolutely.
like going to the awesome tangent, like, you know, the Buddha in the background. Like, I was reading a lot about Buddhism, and when it came about, I think it was like, what, 400 BC? 480, I might mess this up. Whenever it did come about, a long time ago, it was when the Vedic scriptures in India were at a downfall. So Buddha was like traveling, and he was like, you know, what the hell? Why are these people so sad? You know, there's so much problems created by the entire, you know, the Vedic beliefs, which I think was Hinduism or turned into his Hinduism. But either ways, he wanted to look for an answer, and so he started meditating. And so, like, you know, do you look for answers when you meditate, or is it just like to connect more with yourself?
No, of course. I mean, connecting to yourself is for answers that you want in life. I think it's both. And yes, it does come, because how can you just go about your day without stopping, without pausing? You're constantly doing things, constantly taking in information, and there's no pause. There's no like, okay, wait, hold on, there's so much that's happened, there's so many thoughts in my mind, I need to just give myself a break, take a step back and breathe. It's just I mean, I do have anxiety. It's much better than it was before, but I would get extremely anxious, and there are still some days where if I'm overworked, I get super anxious and I get like a panic attack, and I have to, that's like a reminder to myself that, hey, you're not taking care of yourself, you haven't meditated maybe today, or just
Fair enough.
take it easy, you know. In fact, you can work better, you can be more productive when you do inculcate such practices in your life of actually meditating and taking care of yourself.
You know, this whole meditating and spirituality thing is something that, you know, I'm very passionate about. I'm not a religious person at all, and contrary to what you said, like you said before, like, you know, you keep you instead of keep jumping between different beliefs and practices, you want to just stick to one and go for it. Like I differ in the way that I want to see every practice in, like, you know, in action. I want to, like, you know, I'm one of those people. I have to know each and everything so I can make a decision.
I wanted to ask you both openly, what's your take on intuition versus spiritual, like, you know, and answers? Because they I feel like they both go hand in hand.
Interesting
but,
question.
You know, what do you guys think about the importance of like finding answers versus having intuition?
I'll let Sanjana
What's your
go first.
take on that?
If
Well, your intuition only gets stronger if you are, I keep going back to this, but that's what I think, is if you are connected to yourself. How else? Intuition just doesn't come out of nowhere.
Right.
The deeper you get into understanding yourself, the deeper you get into spirituality in general, again, whichever form you choose, the better your intuition gets. The clearer your mind, the clearer you can hear what your mind or body or your soul is trying to tell you. So I think you have to work on your intuition and not just let it be. Of course, it also, I mean, if there are, intuition also comes without practicing meditation. It's just that it's much louder when you do start quietening your mind.
That's a really good way of looking at it. Okay, so I have so many thoughts on this. Okay, so starting off, so if you look at the shamans and the people like what all these ancient tribes and whatnot, they discovered this brew called ayahuasca. Sorry, it's a long tangent, so just bear with me. So this ayahuasca thing was a religious experience that they all shared, and it's widely believed that they did it together and they all drank the same thing and they saw the same beings in the forest. So normally people go in thinking you're just hallucinating, so it must be in the mind. But if multiple people are saying the same thing, it must be a veil that's being lifted, that they all are being able to see shit that normally they wouldn't be able to do. So my perception, my hypothesis of meditating is that you meditate long enough, you reach a state of consciousness which is higher and higher the more you meditate, the more practice you have. Like anything, I think that's a form of intuition. So when you're meditating, you reach a stage, but the same stage can be reached with drugs, which is a shortcut, in my perception, or my hypothesis, basically. So you either meditate and you learn exactly how to reach that stage, or you're just thrust with that stage with drugs, which is why some people have bad trips, maybe, who knows. But going to intuition, I think those stages of intuition, so normally when we're speaking, it's just a cause-effect relationship between our thoughts and our mouths moving. We think what we want to say and then we're processing it. But if you go into guesswork, like, if somebody asks you a question where you don't know, or you're made to play a sport or something, there's different levels of brain activity that translate into what comes out of your mouth and the way you react. So if you're speaking the language that you normally speak, it's just one, you're used to it. It's just second nature. But if you speak multiple languages, then more of your brain is being used at the same time, because you're translating from the initial language into the other ones. The same thing happens, so when you're driving, like a car or whatever, like both your brains work simultaneously, and the same thing happens when you play music. And so when you play music, there's two ways as well. Sorry, like I can relate everything to music, but so the first way is like you learn the notes and then you play what somebody else has taught you. But when you start improvising, I think that's the same state of consciousness, which can be associated with meditation and being on drugs. And so combining all of that might mean higher states of meditation.
Wait, get in on that. I'm just trying to understand that a little more. What do you mean by like trying to improvise and it gets you to that level of consciousness?
So
what do you mean by that?
Normally when people learn music, when you're taught music, you're like, this is one note, this is a chord, blah, blah, blah. And then you're like, how do you play Boulevard of Broken Dreams, for example? And these are the chords. And so you play those chords. But it's like you're learning something and then you're you're vomiting it out. But when you learn music enough, then you can start improvising on, whatever you hear or whatever is playing in the background. And then you go into like an uncharted territory. Like the stuff you're playing is like, it's not what you learned. It's not what you practiced. It's something new. It's like that stage of creativity when you're in the state of flow. Like, you're just making music on the fly. There's no precedent. There's just that moment. The same thing happens when you drive. Because you're driving first time, you're going like, I don't know how to explain it properly, but when you're driving, it's not you processing information that you've previously gained, it's you creating new stuff, like you're creating a path for yourself essentially.
Okay, so if I get this, let me see if I get this thing right. So your experience is such that you find that you can reach certain levels of, or you feel that certain activities, like not just meditation, but like certain things that you do with a passion, or like, or you do it,
Yeah.
For a long time.
Yeah, for a long time with a certain fondness / reverence /
Like when you
belief
do the
that
same thing
that
over like so many times that you don't think about doing it.
I mean, I've gotten this while filming, right? Like, I just get these sparks that, I've never done it before. And I don't know if, obviously, it's shit that's been done, but I never really looked up, how do you film these things? How do you get these angles? It's more like I would watch something and go, like, oh, yeah, let's, I do get that you get certain, you improvise and you get certain, you feel like you've unlocked a certain stage or you've unlocked a certain ability of yours to do what you do better. Now, but do you think love for that field is a major factor?
I think it's a catalyst. Like, if you're happy, you're only happy for like, so long. If you're sad, you're only sad for so long. But love, it seems to be, it lasts a bit longer. Like, it takes a while to fall in love and to,
I think it fades also. I mean, they say you fall in love. I don't know how it. I think everything is temporary, whether it's love, happiness, sadness, any kind of emotion, any kind of feeling.
For sure. Like
so from what you've learned then, Sanjana, getting on to the topic of love, since you put it that way, you said that it's temporary. Then what would you deem as, so what do you think lasts then from your learnings, whatever you have? If you've learned a lot of things are temporary, what are the things that are permanent?
I wouldn't say
nothing's permanent.
Nothing's permanent. Not even us. Not even our. Not even our bodies. But I think what lasts, what could bring you not permanent happiness but long-term happiness is service, is to serve people. Because I think I'm sure you've also realized this. You did the film, you shot the retreat video for us out of your own love. It wasn't something we told you or something we paid you for. It came out of your own love and passion that, I actually connect to this group. I like the people here, I like the vibe here. And I'm just gonna shoot because that's my service to them. And I think for me also that's been the best thing that's happened, is to serve by hosting such events, like Bhakti Lounge. And I will go all out, not like someone's paying me or telling me, hey, you got to do this. It comes, from within. And it truly makes me happy. That's the only reason why I do it. There's nothing that's given me this kind of happiness in my life ever before. Not love, not a relationship, not money, not my job, nothing. It's just to be there for people, to spread this love of, or just spreading this knowledge that I have received. And I feel extremely grateful to my mentor Shubha or people who introduced me.
I was just gonna say, but you said it for me. You're spreading love, don't you think? Like, it's love for the cause that's like kind of a motivation, maybe. Just take a slight tangent, but like the feeling good and all the all the work that you've done. And if you were to do art with all these feelings, and people call it vibrations, energy, whatever, like, do you find a difference if you weren't like the art that you used to do before all your spiritual journeys versus the art you've done after it? Have you found a difference in how you interact?
Yes. Wow, that's something I haven't thought of in a long time, but now it just comes to my mind. How has my art changed? Is that your question?
Yeah.
How did my art change before after spirituality? My art was so dark and weird before I got into all of this. Like, you'd be surprised if you even saw it. I never share that artwork anymore with anyone because it makes me feel like, what on earth was I doing? But it was very dark. I used to get nightmares for like 18 years of my life. Jeez. Literally, I couldn't sleep alone. Couldn't sleep in my own room. Till date, actually, most times I have to go and sleep in my mom's room. But all my art was dark, very dark.
Yeah. And then, what do you mean by dark? When you say dark, what was the element
weird stuff? It was things I would see in my dreams, which was literally ghosts and not nice things. Yeah. So since that was in my mind, and also probably my subconscious mind was filled with it. I don't know what it was, but every time I would paint, I would only paint not nice things. You know, my topics were like death and depression and anxiety, or those were the kind of topics I would choose.
Yeah.
Whereas from 2014, my art started changing and I started working on mandalas, and it's been my soulmate ever since then. We're in 2020. I am in love with it, and that that lets me connect it to spirituality, and it's something more positive. So obviously when I'm drawing it out, I'm feeling good about it. When I complete the piece, I feel accomplished, because I mean, anyone would, you know, when you look at a mandala, it looks very complex and maybe intimidating for someone who hasn't drawn. It's like, I can never draw that, but I take workshops, and all my workshops, most people who come there like, oh, we can't draw, I can't do that, I haven't drawn since I was a kid. And for me, I love to see people draw. When I'm drawing, I'm not drawing to make the mandala look pretty and nice, but I think it's more about how I'm feeling and letting myself feel that way without any judgment. So even if it turns out not so nice for like a perfectionist or an artist, for me it's like, it's okay, you know. This is something I did because I wanted to give myself that time and that space to just express myself. And I want to open up the platform for people to come and express themselves freely through the process of mandala making. And that's how and I also, obviously, speaking of spirituality and my obsession with the Bhagavad Gita and understanding all of this, I always try to bring in something that I've learned from there to my class. So in a very simple, subtle manner, because obviously it's not all hardcore preaching. I myself don't know much, to be honest, but whatever little that I understand, you know, basic things about, for example, service, you know, what's the importance of service is something I've learned through not only reading, but also experiencing it by working on Bhakti Lounge and what it does. So I bring certain topics like that to my workshops, where I'm not only teaching you how to draw, but speaking something about life and connecting that to art.
So like, you know, earlier when we were speaking about I was talking about driving and all that nonsense, but the fact that your art has changed after you started meditating in the spiritual journey ties in right in with that. I can't believe I blanked on asking you about it earlier, but the hypothesis that was thing is like, when you're creating something new, like music, art, or driving, or you know, whatever, it's sort of tangent that you're pulling from the creative ether. Like, that makes any sense, but like you know, you're just like channeling what inspiration, wherever inspiration comes from, who knows, like through your intuition, if that's even the right word to say, onto paper, you know.
Absolutely.
And it's fascinating to hear about how your art is transformed from, you know, a dark place to I think that's a testament to what meditation and all that stuff can do.
I think going to come into that first Bhakti Lounge to shoot that video helped me just realize that, okay, there are more things that you can find the answer to. And it made me equally excited about answering those questions, which would be more along, like, for me, it's a very simple thing, which is, okay, how can I get a little bit of a mastery of mind over body in terms of certain instincts or things you might have, just to strictly get your mind in control of what you want to do. Right, so this is something I wanted to ask you. Now, as a guy, let's just talk about very random things, right? Like, I want to do some research on something, and then I'm like, I'm really craving to play this game, or I'm craving to watch an episode, eat this, eat that. When you know at the back of your head, there's a voice telling you, your mind's telling you don't do it, but your body's like, fuck it, might as well. So I found that like meditation is one way to crack that. If I really want to be able to, you know, that's my motivation to get in, not any other love for God, none of that. For me, it's actually, and through that, if I find this love for God or this connection, so be it. No problem whatsoever, right? So for the people listening to this who are probably wondering, how do I start? What do I do? What's your message to them and to me? because I'm in that pool as well, and maybe even Dakshey.
So are you asking
sure.
how do you start getting
Start,
into spirituality or just understanding?
How do you start meditating at least? I feel like meditation is such a basic thing that like I don't even know how to do. Like, what's your experience and how did you start? Like, what is your step one?
Again, firstly to know what type of meditation suits you. So to experiment whatever meditation is out there. Well, if I were to say anything, I would definitely pick on 3, which is silence, sitting in silence. So even if it's sitting in silence for just 5 minutes, sit there quietly. No, you don't need background music, something soothing, waves and all of that. Nothing. You don't need any of that. Just sitting in silence, quiet, by yourself, maybe light a candle and sit with your eyes closed, back straight, all of that. And watch your thoughts come. It's okay if there are bad thoughts, good thoughts, whatever it is, just observing what's coming and slowly build the practice. So starting with maybe 5 minutes to 10 minutes and build it up. So for me now, I can sit for longer. Earlier, and I think as a beginner, 5 minutes is also like, oh my god, you probably want to open your eyes and you look at the time and it's only been 30 seconds and you're like, what? How do people do this for like hours?
Yeah.
But I think disciplining yourself is very important, and without that nothing comes. So I feel like just making your mind up that, okay, if I really want to understand myself better, I will keep at least 5 minutes to myself of this practice of silent meditation, and then maybe journaling. I think journaling has been a huge thing for me, where I write my thoughts down all the time. Whatever it is, whether it's something I'm happy about or grateful for, or I'm just frustrated and I want to let it out, and maybe I can't share certain things with my friends or my family, so I can share it with my book, because no one's reading that. Hopefully my mom is not reading it, but I really think it helps. And I usually also go back to my notes and have a look at it of, have I really progressed in life? Because sometimes I look at my book from a year ago and then I see a similar problem and I look at it and I'm like, okay, I wrote the same thing here and then the same thing there. So I see a pattern and I need to break that pattern. So how do I break it? And then you start working on it accordingly. So I think journaling is super helpful also. So that's number 1. I think silent meditation. Number 2, of course,
journaling.
is
Journaling.
you know which one, not journaling, but japa meditation, which we spoke about, mantra meditation quite a bit, just because you can do it anytime. You don't have to do, okay, I have to sit for 5 minutes in silence and oh my god, all these thoughts are coming and I can't stand these thoughts. So japa meditation, you don't even have the time, because you're constantly saying the words, you're hearing yourself.
You're not, so there's
losing
not
all your
much
senses.
time to,
You don't
deviate your
have-
thoughts
you
into
can't.
something else. That's
You
fair.
have the-
Even if it comes back, you're like, okay, I gotta chant, I gotta hold my beads, I gotta hear myself, maybe you smell something, maybe you see something, which is, maybe a picture of whoever, God, whatever you believe in, so you're using all your senses to practice that kind of meditation, and you do feel good, honestly. You have to try it to know it, but you do feel much calmer, relaxed. And obviously the best time to meditate is first thing in the morning, so as soon as you wake up.
Really? Okay.
Preferably early.
high prana.
And was this,
Preferably early.
what about that whole night thing before you go to sleep? Isn't that, I didn't know that. I thought like night before you sleep was like a meditation thing that people do.
I think it's important to meditate before you go to bed and when you wake up, because you will sleep much better and peacefully, and you will probably get that 6 or 8 hours sleep when you are when your mind is relaxed. So the same, I don't know if you guys must have heard, read, but like putting away your gadgets an hour or 2 hours before you go to bed, or playing something soothing. For me, what helps is, I'm kind of, especially now during the lockdown, I'm kind of addicted to my phone. It's disgusting. So I'm kind of an extremist where I'll just put my phone away for 24 hours. I don't want to look at my phone. So I just turn it off, throw it in my closet, and I will not look at it. I won't feel tempted to even touch it. I think those are my best days, because I get to finally do things that I really want to do, have the most productive day of like reading, chanting, maybe maybe just catching up with myself. I have a whole day just to myself. I don't want to talk to anyone, and I think that's been helpful. But yeah, going to bed with something by thinking of positive things. So whether you're writing, maybe you have a gratitude journal and you're writing things you're grateful for today, or things you've accomplished. And again, speaking of the lockdown, I realized that initially when it started, the first 2 weeks, I just felt so useless. I felt like I wasn't doing much, and then I realized maybe I'm just being too harsh on myself, because I'm doing things, you know, I'm helping my mom out at home, whether it's cleaning the dishes or whatever it is. I still work, I still have my office work to do, and many other things. So but I just don't realize that actually I have done a lot. So I started writing things I have accomplished today, and I wrote every little thing I've done in the day, from cleaning to waking up on time to taking a shower, whatever it is, the simple things. And
but
then I felt good.
Progress makes a difference, like when you see that you made something for it.
Yeah,
but
actually I did so much today.
Because you talking about the journaling is something that I've done over here for you guys to see, and I've got a book, right? And
full of
dreams.
It says broken.
Nice.
It says a head full of broken dreams. I actually got it off. Because I've kind of I got it off of the Coldplay concert, and so there are time to time, like where I felt not low, but most of the time was just bored because I was in class and I really couldn't be bothered to think about what's going on. So I'd write a lot of shit, the times that I've just written everything from random lyrics to business ideas to costing things for other so many random things, right? But it helped me realize that, okay, this is what I thought a year ago. Where am I now? And how much of a difference has it made? Are these goals, the goals that I put out a year ago, are they relevant? Am I following up? Am I doing anything? Or am I just wasting a year? And then that's such a scary reality check, because you're in your head, you're like, oh my God, I need to do something with my life. And this journaling thing, that I can't relate to it, because, when I started opening my book again, this happened a couple of days ago. And a couple of months ago, I made down a list of things which would make me happy in the short, things that you can do to feel that you're using your time wisely, or you're just being, productive, and you're not wasting time or wasting away. And then I look back, I'm like, I actually still haven't hit a lot of it. I've been so busy going with the flow that in the long run, I've forgotten things that are more important to me, like working on things for me rather than doing things for the sake of it. So that journaling is something I would actually recommend, because that's what's kind of lighting a fire under my ass these days to get shit done. So and
also to look back at the list is important. So always. You do get carried away and go with the flow, but then that's why journaling is important, is because then you can always refer back and you're like, okay, wait, I did not do this yet. Maybe I just forgot. We have so many things going on every single day that, of course, we're forgetful people. That's one of the qualities of Kali Yuga. We don't even remember what we ate yesterday, how are we going to remember what we wrote a year ago about our short-term, long-term goals?
So Sanjana, I was wondering, you spoke about mandala drawings, and that is the Sri Yantra mantra a mandala? And
Yantra
if not,
mantra.
could
That's
you...
so cute. Sri Yantra
Fix your
mantra.
mind, dude. Is it a
It's
yantra,
Sri
or a
Yantra
mantra
mantra.
or a jantra?
Sri Yantra, that's it.
Oh, Sri Yantra.
Guys, Tamil
Sri
talks
Yantra.
like he's from,
What the fuck?
It's a Sri
solid out of
Yantra.
Aberdeen for the
Sri
past
Yantra.
15
Which you
years.
see
Sri Yantra.
everywhere, right? You see a yantra everywhere.
Yeah,
In
yeah.
every Indian household.
I have one.
So every yantra. So I just read this recently. Every yantra is a mandala, but not every mandala is a yantra.
Okay, yeah.
So mandalas are more self-expression, where you're just drawing whatever comes to your mind. It's coming from the subconscious mind. And Carl Jung, the Swiss psychologist, I don't know if you guys have heard of him, very famous. He did a lot of research on mandalas actually. So he practiced it with his clients, and some very cool, interesting stuff. So that's mandalas. Yantras are more to do with something more spiritual. So you are like the Buddhist yantra. You guys might have seen the sand ones they make, very intricate. So there are 5 monks who get together and then they make this whole massive yantra with sand, and they're extremely focused on what they're making, how they're making. There are all these rules on how to make it, and I've also heard that it takes many years for you to first understand the whole process before you can actually get to make it. So a mandala, you can come to my workshop and start making it immediately, but a yantra, for like a Buddhist yantra, you have to really understand what you're doing to make it. It takes many years.
Wait, is yantra like a general thing? I was talking about a specific like picture. Is yantra like a how mandala is like a blanket term?
I wish I had actually have a yantra somewhere, but I made one. So it's with those 4 gates. Have you seen? Like it's in every Indian household, right? It'll be maybe outside your door or in your temple or something. The typical four. It's called those 4 gates, thing. And then there's a deity in the center, or.
Wait, is it this? I don't know if you can see it.
I can't.
Can you see it?
See.
Whoa. Yeah. Okay. Wait. I'll just send a link. That's
send me a picture later. But yantras are more serious. So when I learned how to make a yantra last year, I actually did it over Zoom as well, because my teacher is in New York. She's been making yantras for many years, and she's extremely knowledgeable about it. So it was a very, very interesting class. Yeah. But she had all these rules of like proper measurements, and it's got to be perfect, and you got to think positive, and then you got to keep it clean. You can't, because you're inviting some energy into that. You're inviting some deity into that, and you're creating, like I created a Krishna yantra. Obviously, I'm a Krishna fan, so of course when I spoke to her, I was like, I want to make a Krishna yantra. So and then the way I have to keep it, I can't just put it anywhere. Like a mandala, I'm like, okay, it's lying somewhere in my room, but I can't do that with the yantra. It's something more serious. So I don't teach yantras, just because I'm more still on a very free spirited place, where I'm like, just do whatever you want, have that freedom. I don't want to give too many restrictions and rules. For me, it's more about self-expression, and I'm trying to connect it to something to do with mindfulness or spirituality, therapy, etc.
Awesome. Now, why I was asking you about it was because, based on my ridiculous readings, this Sri Yantra mantra is supposed to be a symbol of the cosmos and the human body. Like, it's a specific yantra, I think. And it's supposed to symbolize consciousness, essentially. So I was wondering if you could tell me something about it, tell us something about it that we didn't know, and you did. Makes a lot of sense. But
I think, since my main focus is mandalas and not yantras, I think mandalas in itself is such a powerful thing. Like I said, so what Carl Jung says is that when every mandala that you're drawing at that time is representing your current state of being. So everything that you're feeling that you're not even aware of is coming out on paper through drawing. And the best part of my workshop is group workshop, especially, is when we're all together, and then we have at the end of class we do a reflection where we all talk about what does this mean to us. And trust me, every single class I've done, people will say something that will blow their mind away. They're just like, wait, was I really thinking of this? Every shape, color, the way you're drawing it means something. Something that
you find similarities.
Yeah, you do. And you have these realizations, and I feel like art is such a beautiful way to express, because we can't really always express everything through words. We don't even know what's going on. How can we express? Like, it's very difficult. When I started drawing mandalas, I was going through a very difficult time, and for me to speak about those emotions were very, very difficult. Right now, for me, it's easy. I can go to my therapist or call my friend, and I'm like, hey, this is how I feel. But back then, I felt like, oh my God, how do I ever share this with someone? No one's going to understand me, or people are going to think I'm a loser, or I'm depressed, and all kinds of things. And of course, coming from India, therapy is seen as taboo. Not anymore. I think it's changing.
Taboo.
But a few years ago,
is Yeah.
I was petrified to
Of course,
see a
yeah, slowly.
therapist. I did see one, and in my first session, I remember I told her, I don't need you. I was like, you know what? I don't think I need you. And she said, well, the doors are open. If you want to come back next week, please come back. And I'm like, no, I don't need you. And then I started with my mandala journey, and I loved it. But I did go back to her for sessions, and she really helped me, and I'm extremely thankful to her. But I also got introduced to this form of art where I can express myself freely without feeling like, oh my gosh, I can't talk to anyone about this. I would draw, and I would, again, as always, keep a journal, and I would write down what I was feeling, and then later look back, like take a step back, look at what I've drawn, and just meditate upon it to understand, what did I even do? Why did I do that? Or why did I select certain colors, or whatever it is?
That's an awesome like depiction of like, you know, straight from the intuition to paper, and what that even means, you know, like going back to what we were speaking, which is fascinating.
Yeah, you should try it out sometime. Come to my workshop.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm definitely someone who's looking forward to, you know, experimenting with meditation. You know, I've got exams or whatnot at the time of the shoot, and you know, once I put a few things to bed, or maybe while I'm doing this, I do want to, you know, set time out. Sticking to a discipline, and you know, disciplining yourself to make sure that your mind controls a lot of the decisions you make over bodily instincts is something that comes with meditation and whatnot. So I sincerely hope that this podcast has you know, kind of shared just how much a lot of us are on a very similar boat, and how a very common solution, or the start of a very common solution, is something, you know, fundamentally simple, you know. So let's all try and just inculcate a little bit or something similar in our lives, and then branch off into whatever way we see fit. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us and for listening. You will find the links below to Sanjana and Dakshay's work down below, and you know, tune in, and we'll be coming back for more episodes
and good luck
soon.
with this. This is,
Toodles.
I think, an amazing initiative that you guys are doing during this lockdown, and will continue, I'm assuming, after the lockdown, of course. But
Thank you.
good luck to you
Absolutely.
guys. And thank you once again.
You too.
Thank
Yeah, it
you.
was
Thanks.
awesome. Cheers.
No worries. Take care.
See ya.
Bye bye.